Hey friends, welcome back to the channel where we talk all things gut health and SIBO especially. Now, if you're here, chances are you or someone that you love is struggling with bloating, gas, tummy pain, diarrhea, or constipation, right? And maybe a little mix of all of the above. Well, you're not alone, and today we're diving into a super important topic, SIBO diets. That's right. We're going to break down the three most popular ones, including low FODMAP, Biphasic, and low fermentation. And we're going to help you figure out which one might be best for you. And don't worry, I'm going to try to keep it simple and fun. So stick around to the end to find out the winning diet for SIBO, because one of these diets is actually better than the other two. So let's kick things off with the low FODMAP diet. I'm sure you have heard of it. It's one of the most popular diets on Google because its superpower is that it can quickly reduce bloating, gas, and other not so fun symptoms by cutting out the foods that are harder to digest. These tricky foods are called FODMAPs, which is another medical mnemonic that stands for fermentable oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols, or FODMAP. I know, I think I just saw you roll your eyes with all those big words, but no worries. The saccharides are just a fancy term for sugars, and the oligo, di, and mono parts of that just tell us how complex those sugars are. The polyols part of FODMAPs refers to the man-made or synthetic sugar alcohols like you'll find in sugar-free grocery store items like candy, gum, ice cream, and protein bars that are keto-friendly. All you really need to know about these short-chain sugars and the sugar alcohols is that they are perfectly suited to be fermented in your gut by your own gut bacteria. And when those bacteria ferment your food, you're going to get toxic byproducts as well as, you guessed it, gas. Now, this gas either has to come out the top as belching, out the bottom as flatulence, or it gets stuck in the intestines and causes that overextended balloon-like distension in your belly. When I was in the thick of my very own SIBO, there were many nights that I looked 3 to 4 months pregnant, and I had to change out of my jeans or any other pants that had a waistband that didn't want to accommodate my air baby. Now, even though the low FODMAP diet is super for bringing about quick symptom relief, which is why it's so daggone popular, there are a couple of catches or caveats here. This diet can be very restrictive. I've joked with many of my patients that it feels like a diet of cardboard and water by the end. It's hard to stay on it for long, and it most certainly is going to mess with your good gut bacteria. Trust me on this one. The longer you are on the low FODMAP diet, the worse it's going to lower your good gut bacteria, both in the bacteria's health and eventually in the bacterial quantity. We call this the double whammy. First punch, it causes the good gut bacteria not to be so healthy because it essentially starves them. Now, this is technically called a qualitative insufficiency dysbiosis. But the second punch is the TKO, because when you're on low FODMAP for too long, your good gut guys will start to die off in number. This is technically called a quantitative insufficiency dysbiosis. And this is especially bad for you if constipation is one of your symptoms, because this die-off usually involves one of our sensitive keystone species, Bifidobacter. And once they're sick or they're gone, your constipation is bound to get worse. Quick quiz here, and it's okay if you don't know the answer. How long was the low FODMAP diet supposed to be run for? The answer is 2 months. That's right, a short 2 months. Most people don't read that part of the book originally written by the originators of the low FODMAP diet, both Dr. Peter Gibson, a GI doc, and Dr. Sue Shepard, a dietitian. But if you've already dabbled with low FODMAP or have been doing it strictly for 2 months or longer, it's time to start reintroducing food groups. If there's interest in maybe talking about how to do the reintroduction of FODMAPs in an organized way so that you get the information that you can use, I'll be happy to do another video all about that. We help people at the Center for Ultra Health all the time with this. Next up is the Biphasic diet, created by Dr. Nirala Jacobi. She's a naturopathic physician across the pond in Australia. Her Biphasic diet is helpful in that you do have choices of how strictly you want to go with your eating patterns. There's a phase 1 and a phase 2 of her dietary program. I like that she has more of an emphasis on advancing your diet and trying to make it more robust rather than just staying with your restrictions forever, like so many people are apt to do on the low FODMAP diet. So if you're nervous about adding foods back into your diet because you become so symptomatic with the reintroduction of foods, then phase 2 of her diet can be a nice transition off of the low FODMAP diet, especially if you've taken the time to figure out which FODMAP groups are problematic for you with a formal reintroduction phase for your FODMAPs. Gosh, maybe I should just shoot a video that helps you all to wean off of FODMAPs in an organized way to ease the difficulty of getting more fiber back into your diet. Okay. I think I'll just add that to my list of future videos because we help lots of people make this transition back to more normal eating. It's a process. Now, while the Biphasic diet has 2 phases where you slowly reintroduce foods, and this can make transitioning back to a fuller diet a little easier, we do find that it's still limiting. I mean, we're talking only being able to eat like 3 spears of asparagus at a time. That's just one example. So while it's great for healing, it can feel frustrating to move so slowly with advancing your food portions when you're really craving more food variety. And many of my patients have complained about feeling hungry and bored on both the low FODMAP and Biphasic diets. Okay, now let's talk about the low fermentation diet. If you want long-term success, this is the winner. It was developed by Dr. Mark Pimentel and his team at Cedars-Sinai, and it's way easier to follow, especially if you're busy with carpool and after-school activities, or you travel a lot for work or for family activities, or you just eat out at restaurants and can't always fix meals at home. The FODMAP and Biphasic diets work best if you're kind of a homebody and eat the bulk of your meals all at home. But what's cool about the low fermentation diet is that it not only has more flexibility on where you can eat and still feel safe with your food, but it also focuses on when you eat, not just what you eat. The low fermentation diet places special emphasis on spacing your meals 4 to 5 hours apart so that your gut can have a cleaning wave to sweep out the food and bacteria that may have collected in the small intestines. Now, we've talked about this cleaning wave in other videos. It's that very special migrating motor complex, or MMC for short, that works just like a janitor to sweep partially digested food, undigested food, and even bacteria out of the small intestines. Remember, if you're eating too frequently, that janitor goes on break and he or she doesn't sweep things up for you. Miss out on enough cleaning waves with the janitor on break for too long, and you're bound to have excessive belching, excessive bloating, and/or excessive flatulence. Now, the other superpower for the low fermentation diet is that it's less strict than the other diets, so you get more flexibility while still healing your gut. Remember how we just talked about the effect that too much restriction can have on the health and the quantities of your good gut bacteria? Well, with the low fermentation diet being less restrictive, we don't see the same degree of either qualitative or quantitative insufficiency dysbiosis. But even knowing this, it doesn't give you a free pass to stay on the low fermentation diet for the rest of your life. Any of these diets for too long, whether it's low FODMAP, biphasic, or low fermentation, they can actually slow down your healing. So your gut needs that fiber. It needs the polyphenols, which is just a type of antioxidant found in fruits and vegetables. It needs this fiber, it needs this polyphenols to keep your good bacteria happy and healthy. Now, when you cut out too many foods, you're going to also cut off the food that your good guys need to thrive. So after your SIBO treatment, it's really important to start bringing back high fiber foods like fruits, veggies, and grains. Now, if you're feeling nervous about reintroducing foods, trust me, you are not alone. I remember when I was in this phase of healing my own SIBO, I was really scared of cauliflower for a little bit. I never thought that there would be a day that I'd eat cauliflower again. No way. Not after the air baby that cauliflower caused me one night. I didn't birth that air baby until the next day. Talk about some serious discomfort. But here's a tip for you. Start small. Eat just a little bit of a tricky food like cauliflower and only eat a usual half portion of that veggie or that fruit. See how you feel. If your symptoms are mild or manageable, slowly increase the portion. But if you have a stronger reaction to that small portion that you just ate, wait a couple of days, try it again with an even smaller portion. And over time, your gut will get used to these foods again, so don't rush it. Healing doesn't happen in a straight line, and it's more of a marathon anyway, not a 50-yard dash. The other thing that will be helpful as you're considering what you're doing with reintroducing your foods is to start with foods that are really well cooked. And I mean like grandma used to cook them. We're not talking just a flash in the pan, a 3-minute steam. We're talking really well cooked. My grandma, she used to cook all day long. She would put supper on once we were just clearing away the breakfast plates. They would cook all day long. You know what I mean? These veggies are wimpy, they're wilty, they look like they have no nutritive value, but they do. So make sure that you are cooking your vegetables sufficiently. Even cook your fruits if you would like to try to reintroduce them in a cooked fashion. I find that here in modern day, using some of more modern technologies like an Instapot can be a great way to quickly cook your foods. Why is this important? Because cooked foods are already pre-digested for you, already breaking down a lot of those things that are hard for you to digest at this moment with SIBO. So that's another tip for you that will really help you to start advancing your diet. Stay away from the raw fruits and vegetables at first. Get used to digesting the really well-cooked ones. And then you, my friend, can move on to the raw. All right, let's wrap it up. So here's what we've learned today. Low FODMAP is great for a quick relief, but tough for the long term. Please promise me you won't do it longer than a couple of months. The Biphasic diet helps reintroduce foods, but it can feel limiting and boring and really slow. The low fermentation diet is the best option for long-term success. It's flexible and it's sustainable. And in the description below, if you do pick up my free guide, we go over a lot of the low fermentation diet with you. We call them the no-no foods to just avoid for now. Many people that have downloaded that have found that to be really helpful for re-engineering what their diet looks like to bring more variety. And remember, if you're staying too restrictive, that can really slow your healing process. So once your SIBO treatment is done, start reintroducing those healthy fibrous foods to keep your gut healthy and happy. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe for more gut-friendly tips and let me know in the comments which diet you're trying or if you have any questions. I'm here to help you feel your best and keep your tummy troubles at bay. Also, drop me a line. Let me know what you'd like to hear more about. Perhaps we should make that video about how to wean off the low FODMAP diet. Food for thought. See you next time.